Hey, welcome back to Livin MN Outdoors. I'm Daniel, and thanks for tuning in to this week's fishing report. I'm so excited, guys. We are finally getting some nice weather, and the bite is definitely picking up on all three lakes. Now, before we get into today's fishing report, if you guys could hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, or follow us over on Facebook, we would really appreciate it. And as always, if you use any of the guides or resorts mentioned in today's report, please let them know you saw them on Livin MN Outdoors. And with that being said, let's dive into this week's fishing report. All right, this week we're going to start up on Lake Winnie, mainly out of Tamarack Bay. The walleye bite has gotten a lot better up there, and the guys are catching a ton of eater fish along with some nice slot fish. Now, there are a ton of walleyes hanging out in that 10 to 12 foot of water, especially off of the Three Sisters and over off of Plug Hat. Those fish tend to be really hard to get to bite during the day. You can get a few to bite by either throwing a jig and a minnow or a crawler. But the best bite has been that really early morning, that 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. or that late evening, that 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. crankbait bite. Those fish that are holding up in that 10 to 12 foot of water, they're sliding up into that 6 to 9 foot of water. They're trolling number 5 crankbaits in perch colored patterns because they're finding a ton of 3-inch perch in those walleyes' bellies. Now, trolling those crankbaits at 1.8 to 2.2 mile per hour seems to be working best. In, like I said before, that Three Sisters area, the Plug Hat area, and then there have been some really nice fish being caught over in the Cutfoot Narrows as well. And I do want to give a huge congratulations to Nicholas on catching a 30-inch walleye that weighed just over 10 pounds, and he caught that over in the Cutfoot Narrows trolling crankbaits as well. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, perch have been scattered. They are picking up a few more now that it's gotten warmer out. They're getting those along with the walleyes, pitching jigs in a crawler or a jig in a minnow. Not really a specific pattern to catch those, but you will probably run into a few well out walleye fishing. Now, as far as the panfish bite goes, the weeds and the old reed beds are the key right now. I don't think the new reeds are quite poking up through yet, so if you can locate those old reed beds, the bluegills are pulled up in there, anywhere from 4 to 8 foot of water. A slip bobber and a chunk of a crawler is working really well for those, or a small panfish leech. And then the crappies, a slip bobber with a fathead or a crappie minnow, or pitching a jig in a fathead or a minnow style plastic is working well for the crappies. Now, you can catch those in Tamarack Bay, or you can catch those over in Cutfoot. The crappies are up in shallow, that 4 to 8 foot of water. Look for the weeds and the old reeds, and you're probably going to find some really nice crappies or some really big bluegills right now. Now, as far as the pike bite goes, they're catching pike just about everywhere. Getting some pretty nice ones as of late as well, but plenty of those little ones for pickling, and plenty that you have to put back as well. Now, if you guys are looking for a guide up on the Lake Winnie or the surrounding area, we're partnered up with Scott from zupsguideservice. He is the premier walleye guide up there, along with doing some panfish as well. I do believe he's running some sunset trips as well, and I do believe those run from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., along with his all-day or half-day trips that start earlier in the morning. So if you're looking to get up to Lake Winnie and want to hire a guide, go ahead and call Scott from zupsguideservice. Now, if you're looking for a place to stay, the Pines Resort, they do have some cabins available. They do have some RV sites as well. Full barn restaurant, live bait, rental boats. And whether you're staying at the resort or not, you're free to boat in or drive in. Enjoy some food and drinks at the restaurant. And I do highly recommend their ice cream rolls. They are amazing. So if you're looking for a place to stay up on Lake Winnie, go ahead and call Chad from the Pines Resort. All right, now moving down to Leech Lake. The walleye bite has improved. I wouldn't say that it's going gangbusters right now, but they are catching more and more walleyes as the water temps continue to rise. Now, there's a couple different areas you can find those walleyes. The first one is that shallow weed line bite. That basically is in play all year long out on Leech Lake, up in Sucker Bay, over on the backside of Bear Island. A lot of those milfoil beds, those walleyes tend to hang out there all year long in 6 to 10 foot of water. Right now, throwing a 1/8 ounce jig with a minnow, a crawler, or a leech is working. And then some other areas to target those fish. The main lake sand flats in that 10 to 16 foot of water is starting to hold more and more fish as the temps get warmer. And then those first deeper humps off of the first break, still in that like 10 to 16 or 12 to 18 foot of water. Some of those walleyes are starting to show up off of some of those rock humps, and getting those the same way on a jig with a minnow, leech, or night crawler. And a slip bobber, if you are out there with live scope, a slip bobber is a great option, especially with a leech floating below it. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, not a lot of perch been getting caught out there, at least not that I've been hearing about. A few mixed in here and there with the walleyes, but those perch have been really elusive this spring, and not really sure where to find any numbers of them. Now, as far as the panfish bite goes, bluegills and crappies up in Sucker Bay, Boy Bay, Shingobi, look for those shallow weed lines that 4, 5 to 8 or 9 foot of water. The bluegills, they're getting those on a plain hook with a chunk of a crawler below a bobber, or a chunk of a crawler on a tiny little hair jig is working too. And then for the crappies, a slip bobber and a minnow, or a jig with a minnow style plastic, or a crappie minnow or a fathead is working on those crappies as well. Now, as far as the bass bite goes, the largemouth bass, I know they're getting those up on those shallow weeds as well, even up into that 2 or 3 foot of water. Getting those on a white chatterbait. Wacky worm works. Basically, they're going to eat anything right now as they are getting ready to spawn, and some of them maybe have already started. And then the smallmouth bass, they are starting to pull up in shallow as well. Look for those on those shallow rocks or that sand gravel mix in that 4 to 9 foot of water. Throwing a jerk bait for those is working really well right now, and some hair jigs. Some Neds are working as well, but I would highly recommend throwing a jerk bait right now. Now, if you're looking to hire a guide up in the Leech Lake area, whether for walleyes or panfish, maybe even some bass action, we're partnered up with Parker from Davis's Guide Service. His books are starting to fill up for May, for the end of May and throughout June. He does have some availability in July and August, and he does have some sprinkled in throughout June as well. So give Parker a call and get a trip on the books and make some awesome memories up on Leech Lake or the surrounding areas. Now, if you're looking for a place to stay up on Leech Lake, Kyle from Acorn Hill Resort, he has cabins, RV sites, seasonal sites, full bar and restaurant, live bait, boat rentals. He's got basically anything you could ask for to make a successful trip up on Leech Lake. He also will be doing Walleye Camp, which I believe runs June 6th through the 13th. There aren't very many spots left. That will include your cabin, your meals, your guide trips, your guide seminars, the whole works. So if you're looking to get better at walleye fishing in general or just on Leech Lake, I highly recommend checking out Walleye Camp. And then later on in August, they will be hosting a muskie camp as well. So if you're looking to get up to the Leech Lake area, go ahead, give Kyle a call from Acorn Hill Resort. All right, now moving down to Mille Lacs Lake. Right now, the smallmouth bite on Mille Lacs Lake is absolutely on fire. A lot of 6 to 7 pound smallmouth bass are being caught right now. It's not unheard of for people to be catching 30 to 34 pound bags right now, which is absolutely insane. Those smallmouth have pulled up in shallow now. I'd be looking for them in that 4 to 10 foot of water on rocks, that sand and gravel mix. They're getting ready to spawn. Some of them might already be on beds, but throwing jerk baits, drop shot, Ned rig, all of those are working right now. Just remember, when fishing those shallow bass, you do need to park a ways off of them and make fairly long cast as not to spook those fish. Now, as far as the walleye bite goes, those walleyes are starting to push out a little bit further. That 12 to 18 foot of water on sand to rock transition seems to be best right now. A lot of those fish starting to show up on those first deeper humps off of that first break as well. Getting a lot of those fish now on slip bobbers and a leech, although a jig with a chunk of a crawler, a leech, or a minnow is still working as well. And then trolling crankbaits later in the evening or earlier in the morning is producing some nice fish as well. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, still haven't been hearing a whole lot about the perch. Everybody seems to be focused on the smallmouth and the walleyes right now. If you were going to try for perch, I would suggest getting out in that 22 to 32 foot of water off the rock to mud transitions or out on those mud flats. Drag a jig and a crawler, a Lindy rig with a crawler or a leech. Maybe even a fathead still is working, but I would check deeper for those perch. Now, if you're looking for a guide up in the Mille Lacs Lake area, I highly recommend Joe from Keeper's Guide Service. He does have some availability throughout June and July and into August still. Whether you want to do an all-day trip, a half-day trip, or maybe you want to go chase some panfish or bass on some of the smaller lakes up there, Joe can accommodate basically any trip you're looking to have. So go ahead and give Joe a call from Keeper's Guide Service and get something on the books. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember, you can send us your fish pictures either to our Gmail or over on our Facebook Messenger, and we will do our best to feature you in next week's fishing report. If you do make it out fishing, remember, be kind at the boat ramp, be respectful of other fishermen, don't crowd your neighbor, and most importantly, don't forget to get on out there and get living.